It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview Richmond Webb, who is a former NFL player for the Miami Dolphins. How are you doing today?
Doing good, Brandon. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to play football in the NFL?
Well, I knew growing up as a kid, I always loved the sport. Grew up in Dallas and was a huge Cowboy fan, which is understanding growing up in Dallas. So that was back in the days of Roger Staubach, Drew Pearson, Tony Hill, Dorsett, Harvey Morton, all those guys. They had Too Tall Jones. So I think, just loving the sport, I think everybody has dreams and aspirations. And that was one of mine. But to actually see it come to fruition, that was the thing there. But I actually got to do something that was a childhood dream. So that was huge for me. So didn't know at the time that was a dream, but as my career progressed through college and actually had a shot, it actually became within grasp reach, and I'm happy I was able to experience that.
What did it feel like in 1990 whenever you got drafted to the Miami Dolphins?
It was it's actually a sign of relief. The draft, leading up to the draft, you have different analysts and stuff, and they speculate on where you possibly could go, this and that. And then the morning of the draft, I think it was Sunday morning back then, got a call from a few teams, and Miami was one of them. And pretty much a lot of people were saying that, we're gonna draft you if you're there, but we don't think you're gonna be there. So the draft starts, and then you have the panelists with, Mel Kiper, I think it was Tom Jackson, Joe Theismann, and because, of course, Swami, Chris Berman. And they're sitting there, and they start announcing the picks, and then every so often your name comes up, and then the team decides to go a different way. So, but when New England had the eighth pick, and when they selected Chris Singleton, my phone was ringing, and it was Coach Shula. So he said, "Hey, are you ready to be a Dolphin?" And I said, "Yes, sir." And it was like a big sigh of relief because the weight was off my shoulders. I didn't have to anticipate. I knew where I was going. I was going to Miami, and I was happy.
That's pretty amazing. Was there any team that, like, leading up to the draft, you were like, I don't want, if they call, I don't want to go there?
No, I never took that approach. I was just hoping that I had an opportunity to go to like warm weather. But if I would have got drafted by a cold weather team, I would have went. I never publicly said or told anybody, don't draft me, this and that. So no, I never did that. I was just hoping and praying. I went to a warm weather team, and I ended in Miami. So I was definitely happy about that.
What was it like whenever you put on the Miami Dolphins uniform for the first time?
Uh, it actually felt good. First time was basically, you go through practice and stuff like that, but a lot of the decals and the emblems are not on your practice uniform. But first game was up in Chicago, and preseason game, and you get dressed, you put it on, you feel good. But then, I had to go against a guy named Richard Dent that's in the Hall of Fame. That's first game out, and knew about him from when the Bears won the Super Bowl. So I was happy, anticipation, and you just want to go out when you're a first round pick. I think the thing you want to do is try to show that you're worthy of that. And so, you have that concern or that pressure you kind of put on yourself. At least I did. And the other thing was, I was protecting Dan Marino, so he was already a legend. And the last thing you want to be remembered as getting a guy like that hurt. So um, I think I put pressure on myself to, perform and wanted to do the best I could. And I had a great offensive line coach, John Sandusky, and it helped me out tremendously. But everything worked out good. It was good to put that uniform on.
Speaking about Dan Marino, what was it like protecting his blind side?
It was, amazing. I can remember me and Keith Sims getting drafted as rookies, and we actually got in the huddle with Dan Marino for the first time, and you almost like you're kind of in awe because these guys you saw on TV. A year ago you were just in college playing in college, and then you got Marino calling the plays, and you got Mark Duper, Mark Clayton in the huddle, and you're like, man, I used to watch these guys on Monday Night Football. But I think one of the things that was really impressive is when the games got clutch or we had to go into our 2-minute offense, to see him raise his level of play and just execute. And it was just a thing of beauty to watch. I mean, we watch it on film the next day, but you knew it was happening because we had to keep sprinting to get up to the ball. And as soon as we get there, he's throw another strike or whatever. So it was awesome playing with Marino.
What was your playing experience like in Miami?
Oh, it was good. I started out with Coach Shula. One of the greatest coaches ever to walk the sidelines in the NFL, and learned so much from him. But the thing was that he was such a disciplinarian, and I understood very shortly is why he had so much success, because we were a very disciplined team and we were a very intelligent team, and we didn't do things like make a bunch of penalties that could cost you the game or whatever. A lot of times that's where we would end up winning games. It's not doing things to beat yourself, because a lot of time the level of talent in NFL is pretty equal. It's just, sometimes you got to be smarter than your opponent. And a lot of times we would come out and win games due to that. So it was great.
What was the transition like going from Miami to Cincinnati?
I think the difference was I spent my whole career in Miami, but I still wanted to continue to play. I was still in the AFC, but I was in the AFC North, and went there, and they welcomed me with open arms, and it gave me an opportunity to see how things were done. Maybe not what I was used to, but it was different. But just the level of talent of guys they had, and tremendous amount of respect. And I love their fan base because they had some definitely loyal fans in Cincinnati. A little adjustment to the cold weather because, around October, it starts getting cold up there, mid-October. But other than that, it was good. Didn't have as much success as I would like to have had, but for the most part, it was a good experience.
What was going through your head, of course, whenever you got the word that Miami traded you to the Cincinnati Bengals?
No, I was a free agent. I didn't get traded. Wasn't able to work out a contract with Miami, but I wanted to continue to play. And then once that, I ended up signing with the Bengals, and it was all good from then on.
Can you talk about, of course, the Pro Bowl and how many? I saw that you went to the Pro Bowl within the span of 1990 to 1996. What is the Pro Bowl experience like?
Well, it's just an all-star game for, considering some of the best players at your position in the NFL, and it's basically broken up. It's a little different now, but it's broken up back then between the American Conference and the National Conference, and then you compete against each other to see who wins the game. But it gave me an opportunity to meet some of the best players, the cream of the crop in the NFL, and it was great. It was in Hawaii at that time, and people would come out and get autographs, and you meet a lot of people and stuff like that. And the weather Hawaii was beautiful. It was hot, but it was beautiful, and just had a good week of fellowship with different guys around the NFL, and then you go out and play the game, and maybe take your family out with you. So it was an awesome experience.
How did it feel the day that you were inducted into the Miami Ring of Honor in Hard Rock Stadium?
It felt good. I can definitely remember that. I can remember, like some of my, Marino was able to make it back. He was working for CBS, so for him to show up, and then for Coach Shula to come out and announce that I was one of the guys that been added to the Ring of Honor, that was huge. That was tremendous, and just the way the fans reacted when they revealed my name in the stadium, it showed that people had a lot of respect and love for me still, and I definitely could appreciate that. And being able to go back to Miami and retire a Dolphin after I played, 2 years in Cincinnati, that was important to me, and they welcomed me back with open arms. So um, that was always home to me, and it was good to go back home.
That's amazing. What is it now like as you watch the O lines in the NFL? What is it now that you see that you might have saw whenever you were playing?
I think the game's changed a little bit. I think now you have more teams that throw the football, which was real similar to what we did. We threw the ball a lot. We had Dan Marino, and that was the thing that me and Keith Sims was brought into, was to protect, Marino and let him do what he did. But some of the similarities, you see more teams. It's more of a passing league now versus when I think when I came in, a lot of teams were, run the ball, physical, hard nosed, downhill running teams. But those are some of the biggest differences I see now than when I played.
Of course, now that Deshaun Watson is rumored to be traded and stuff, do you foresee Tua going to Houston and you getting Deshaun Watson?
I don't see that. That's basically, I hadn't really heard anybody from the Dolphins come out and say that. What I've heard them say is Tua is our quarterback. And I remember they said that right after the season. Chris Greer and Coach Flores came out, and I think they've reiterated that. So I never. The only thing with that is Deshaun Watson is a great player, but I think for the compensation that the Houston Texans wanted, I thought that was a bit much. Not saying he's worthy of it, but when they take the time to, go through a total rebuild, I think that would really slow down progress, giving up that much compensation, that many first round picks. So I think Tua is our quarterback, and it would be hard for me if I was the Texans to trade Deshaun Watson. I would tell you that. He's a great player.
What are some of the things that you've done now after retiring from football?
Uh, Now I actually do a little podcast once a week. Been doing that. Started that last year during the pandemic with it's called Inside the NFL with Reason and Ball Game, and you can find that on the Brawl Network or Dolphins Brawl. But just did a little investing in real estate. Have some rental properties. Just a little commercial real estate stuff. Like that's basically what I've done, but nothing like real strenuous or anything like that. So um, other than that, that's about it.
What advice would you give upcoming future football players looking to get into the NFL?
I definitely say if you have the opportunity, find, pursue your dreams, but also in pursuit of that, have your backup plan. And what I mean by that is if you have an opportunity to get your education, even if you play in the NFL and you may play to where you never have to work again, the thing is you do want to be prepared in the event that you don't get an opportunity to play, as long as you did play, or for some apparent reason, injury or whatever, you get hurt and you can't play as long. At least you have a degree where you can still support yourself and manage your money and save some of it to where you can still have a quality lifestyle. That would be the biggest piece of advice I would give guys today.
What would you give people that are just now retiring out of the NFL, transitioning into the real world?
It depends on how long they played. Depends on how frugal they were with their money. If you spend it, you don't have to go out and get a job and work or whatever. Or if you were pretty frugal, you still got to remember that the likelihood of you making the same amount of money year after year right now coming out of NFL. Not saying it's not impossible, but it's highly unlikely. So you've got to maybe adjust your lifestyle just a little bit until you can get your income up. Once you get your income up, you can go back to living however you want to.
That's amazing. Where can my listeners find you at on social media along with your podcast at?
You can find me on Twitter, Richmond Webb. The name of the podcast is Finside the NFL, and it's PHINSIDE the NFL. And it's on the Dolphins Brawl. You spell Brawl, BRAWL, or the Brawl Network. You can find it on there. And I'm on Facebook, Richmond Webb, so it's not hard to find me.
Thank you again, Richmond Webb, for your interview, and best of luck in your future, wherever it may hold, and along with your podcast.
Thank you very much, sir.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Richmond, for your interview, and best of luck.
Hey, have a good day, sir.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.